It's 2 a.m. The world sleeps, but your mind races, circling a question as old as thought itself. Are you truly in control? Consider the universe as envisioned by Pierre-Simon Laplace. If a hypothetical demon knew the precise location and momentum of every atom, it could, using Newton's laws, predict the entire future with absolute certainty. Every thought you have, every choice you make, would simply be the calculated outcome of prior physical states, like cosmic billiard balls colliding in a predetermined sequence. This is determinism. Baruch Spinoza argued similarly, suggesting humans are merely conscious stones, aware of rolling down a hill, but mistakenly believing they chose the path. Our feeling of freedom, he proposed, stems from ignorance of the true causes compelling our actions. If your brain is just complex matter obeying immutable physical laws, from the quantum flutter to the neuronal cascade, where does you, the author of your choices, fit in? Is the sensation of choosing just an elaborate post hoc rationalization generated by the machinery? Does the introduction of quantum indeterminacy, the inherent randomness at the subatomic level, offer an escape hatch? Or does it merely replace clockwork precision with chaotic dice rolls, leaving meaningful self-direction still elusive? You are watching a movie, perhaps, but are you the director, or just a character reading lines written billions of years ago? But what if the script isn't fully written? What if, at critical junctures, you are the uncaused cause? This is the core of libertarianism, the defiant assertion of genuine free will against the deterministic machine. Immanuel Kant argued that for morality to have any meaning, for praise, blame, reward, or punishment to be justified, we must possess freedom. How can one be held responsible for an action dictated solely by prior causes? Robert Kane proposed the concept of self-forming actions, or torn decisions. These are moments of profound inner conflict, perhaps between moral duty and personal desire, or competing life paths. In these struggles, where the outcome isn't predetermined by our existing character or motives, Kane suggests we forge our will, shaping who we become. The effortful resolution of such conflicts creates genuine authorship over our lives. But the challenge remains stark. How can a non-physical mind, capable of acting independently of causal chains, arise from and interact with a physical brain governed by physical laws? Is this dualism plausible? Or, as critics contend, is it merely inserting a ghost in the machine, a hopeful fantasy against the weight of scientific understanding? Imagine rewinding the tape of your life to a crucial decision. Could you truly have chosen differently, all prior conditions being identical? Libertarianism insists yes, that possibility is the bedrock of our unique human agency. Perhaps the problem isn't whether we have freedom, but the sheer terrifying weight of it. Existentialism, particularly through Jean-Paul Sartre, throws this into sharp relief. Sartre famously declared, "Man is condemned to be free." Because there's no predetermined essence, no divine plan or inherent nature defining us, we are radically free. But this freedom isn't a gift, it's a burden. We are entirely responsible for what we make of ourselves, for every choice, every action, every inaction. There are no excuses. Blaming genetics, upbringing, society, or even trauma is, in Sartre's view, bad faith, a form of self-deception to escape the dizzying responsibility of our liberty. Saying "I had no choice" is the ultimate lie we tell ourselves. Are you choosing your career, your relationships, your values, or are you letting societal expectations or fear dictate your path, thereby acting in bad faith? Simone de Beauvoir expanded on this, arguing that authentic freedom necessitates recognizing and fighting for the freedom of others. Our own liberty is intertwined with theirs. Consider the modern condition. Does endless scrolling through TikTok, the curated perfection of Instagram, or the outrage cycles of news feeds numb our capacity for meaningful choice? Are we choosing distraction, passively consuming prepackaged stimuli, effectively abdicating the very freedom existentialists describe as our defining characteristic? Life as a blank canvas. The potential is infinite, but the pressure to make the right mark, or any mark at all, can be paralyzing. For millennia, humanity has grappled with free will through the lens of the divine. If an omniscient God knows everything you will ever do, from your breakfast choice tomorrow to your final breath, in what sense are your actions free? Are you merely playing out a predetermined script written by a celestial author? St. Augustine wrestled with this, proposing that God exists outside of time, perceiving all moments simultaneously. God's foreknowledge, in this view, doesn't cause events any more than a historian's knowledge of the past causes it. Yet the tension between divine sovereignty and human responsibility for sin remains a cornerstone of theological debate. Can prayer genuinely alter a future already known to God? Eastern philosophies offer different perspectives. Concepts like karma and reincarnation suggest our present circumstances and inclinations are shaped by actions in past lives. This implies a form of determinism, where our choices are heavily influenced, if not dictated, by accumulated karmic debt or merit. Is this fair? Does it trap individuals in cycles of suffering based on actions they don't consciously remember? Or is rebirth seen as a recurring opportunity to exercise will differently, to learn, evolve, and ultimately break free from the cycle, moksha or nirvana? The Western focus often pits the individual soul against an external God's plan, while Eastern traditions frequently emphasize an impersonal cosmic law or balance that governs cause and effect across lifetimes. Both frameworks, however, fundamentally question the nature and extent of individual autonomy in a universe potentially governed by higher powers or inescapable laws. Neuroscience enters the fray, shifting the debate from philosophical abstraction to empirical investigation. Benjamin Libet's famous experiments in the 1980s delivered a jolt. He asked participants to flick their wrist whenever they felt the urge, while noting the precise time they became aware of that urge. Simultaneously, EEG monitored their brain activity. Libet found a consistent buildup of neural activity, the readiness potential, beginning about half a second before the participants reported conscious awareness of deciding to act. This suggested the brain initiates the action subconsciously, and the feeling of conscious will follows, perhaps as an afterthought. More recent studies using fMRI have pushed this further. Scientists could predict with accuracy significantly above chance which button a person would press up to 7 to 10 seconds before the person themselves knew their choice. Critics argue these experiments involve simple, arbitrary motor tasks and may not reflect complex, reason-based decision-making. They might measure an accumulating urge or readiness rather than the decision itself. However, the findings undeniably challenge our intuitive sense of conscious authorship. Are we, our conscious selves, merely observers, rationalizing decisions already set in motion by unconscious neural processes? If brain activity precedes and predicts choice, what does this imply for responsibility? If a criminal's brain structure or activity pattern correlates strongly with their behavior, can we truly say they chose to commit the crime? Does this challenge the very basis of our justice system, potentially shifting focus from punishment towards treatment or rehabilitation based on neurobiological predispositions? Is free will, as some neuroscientists provocatively suggest, just the brain's internal public relations department, creating a compelling narrative of control after the fact? Faced with the stark opposition between determinism's causal chains and libertarianism's radical freedom, some philosophers propose a middle ground, compatibilism. What if free will and determinism aren't mutually exclusive enemies? Perhaps the definition of free will needs refinement. David Hume argued that freedom doesn't mean freedom from causality, but freedom from coercion or external constraint. You are free, Hume suggested, if you act according to your own desires and character, even if those desires and character are themselves the product of prior causes. If you wanted to stay home and you did, you acted freely, regardless of the complex chain of events that led to that desire. Daniel Dennett expands on this, proposing freedom evolved. He views free will not as a mysterious metaphysical power, but as a complex suite of cognitive abilities that evolved in social animals: the capacity to anticipate futures, reflect on reasons, control impulses, and respond flexibly to the environment. This practical freedom allows us to navigate complex social worlds and hold each other responsible in meaningful ways. Critics often label compatibilism a semantic sleight of hand, arguing it simply redefines free will into something unrecognizable to avoid the hard problem. Does saying you're free because you're acting on determined desires truly capture what we mean by freedom? Does this view risk justifying holding people responsible for bad programming, undesirable traits or impulses determined by factors beyond their ultimate control? The analogy often used is a river. Its path is determined by geology and physics, yet we can still speak of the river flowing freely along its course. Compatibilism suggests our lives might be similar, determined yet free in the ways that matter for living. We've journeyed through the labyrinth, the clockwork universe of determinism, the defiant stand of libertarianism, the burdensome freedom of existentialism, the divine quandaries of religion, the unsettling revelations of neuroscience, and the reconciling efforts of compatibilism. Determinism offers a cold comfort of predictability, but strips us of meaning. Libertarianism inspires but rests on shaky metaphysical foundations. Neuroscience pulls the rug out from under our intuitive sense of control. The paradox persists, perhaps stronger than ever in the dead of night. If free will truly is an illusion, should we dismantle concepts like guilt, pride, moral responsibility, and justice as we know them? If a complex algorithm exhibits sophisticated decision-making, could artificial intelligence achieve free will? If we say no, based on its programmed nature, how rigorously have we examined our own programming through genetics and environment? Perhaps the very persistence of this paradox suggests a fundamental limit to human understanding, an inability to reconcile our subjective experience of freedom with the objective laws governing reality. Or maybe, just maybe, the answer isn't a binary yes or no. Perhaps free will isn't a pre-existing cosmic fact to be discovered, but a capacity to be cultivated, a muscle to be exercised. The more consciously you reflect on your values, the more you resist impulsive action, the more you strive to act in accordance with your considered judgments. Perhaps the freer you become, regardless of the ultimate metaphysical truth. The question hangs in the 2 a.m. silence. What do you think?